In this episode, we stare into the void to understand the spirits of purity and sincerity. Welcome to the Bottom Turtle Podcast. I realized something about communicating. To communicate something, you have to speak it. And you have to speak it in some way. Every form of speech is art. So you're performing some piece of art. That's your speech. A set of gestures and noises that come with a combination of feelings to communicate an idea or a concept from one mind to another. Communication. Communication requires a lot of you. Communication. The thing about communication is that you have to take a concept, package it in art, deliver it to a mind, and then they unravel your art. They experience it, they judge it, because you're the encoder and they are the decoder. Encoder and decoder. These are like the basics of information theory. The coder and decoder. One person is encoding a message into some sort of physical gestures. It's like every single thing you do is a physical gesture. And it's like you're communicating with the universe, with reality, with everything. Everything you do is some sort of communication with the laws of reality. You're interacting with it. So when you see the symmetry of communication and art, is that you see that the piece of art encodes the concepts, the ideas. The art encodes it, and then you experience the art and you decode it. That's what it means to communicate. I'm trying to program your feelings and emotions and put you through a simulation in the same way that they do when you watch a movie. Like, just sit and think about why you watch movies. You pay a lot of money. People who make movies get a lot of money. It's a lot of prestige. Movies are a big deal. Why? They generate so much money and interest and awareness and data. Think of the amount of data, the amount of physical matter on Earth that is correlated to storing information about movies. They're huge. It's a huge spirit. It's massive. And so that's objective. Everyone knows that it's true. Everyone knows that it's true. That's objective. It's objective that movies are a big deal. Movie stars, we all know this. It's absolutely an undeniable fact. If you try to deny it, you're an insane person. So movies are a big deal. Why? Because you are going through a simulation when you experience them of feelings and emotions. Up and down. Ooh, that was scary. Ooh, that was funny. Comedies versus a horror movie. Like, we know these genres exist. And so we know that each genre is designed to program you in a way that's consistent with that genre. So when you're experiencing the art of that genre, you're experiencing a communication from the spirit of that genre. But I'm saying, because we know that movies exist, we know that there's an objective thing you get out of them. That's why they exist. That's why they're valuable. There's something you're getting out of them. And what you're getting out of them is something like a communication from a spirit that you're interacting with. It's programming you. And because you give it awareness, it gets resources. So you're programming it, because you got things like audience capture. You got things like, so then we're programming, so it's an interaction, a communication. It's a communication between spirits. And so I'm saying that all of reality can be judged in terms of communication with a spirit. It's a valid perspective, like logically sound. It makes perfect sense. When you think about spirit as being related to how something is programmed by the universe and how something programs the universe, how it interacts with the universe, interaction. Because all communication requires some sort of interaction. And because there's interaction, there's time. All communication requires some sort of interaction. And because there is an interaction, there's time. But I think that for there to be time, there must be uncertainty. It can't be reversible. It can't be reversible. Something that is reversible is information preserving. If it's information preserving, then you can always exactly predict the present from the future. You can always pick everything with like perfect accuracy. Perfect accuracy. Yes, if things are reversible, then you can do things with infinite precision, like infinite. If things are reversible, basically I'm trying to make a distinction between algebraic transformations and non-algebraic transformations. Transformations that have, instead of an automorphic structure, like it doesn't have an automorphic structure. It's not unitary. You see? Unitary transformations cannot lead to time. Because unitary transformations are symmetry transformations. And so, if they are symmetry transformations, if unitary transformations are symmetry transformations, then you have the problem of that transformation means nothing without reference to something else. You always have to make a reference for information to come into existence. You see? You need uncertainty for things to come into existence. You need uncertainty for things to come into existence. You need uncertainty. You need a non-information preserving mapping, a many-to-one mapping, a coarse graining. Many-to-one mappings, less resolution. There must be less resolution somewhere. There must be less resolution somewhere for something to be created. There must be less resolution somewhere for something to be created. Whoa. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There must be less resolution for something to be created. There is no creation without entropy. There is no creation without entropy. There is no creation without uncertainty. 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 There is no creation without uncertainty, without entropy, without emptiness, the oneness, the Tathagata, the thus come one, the suchness. There must be emptiness. From creation goes form to emptiness. Form is no different from empty, empty no different from form. Form is just empty, empty just form. Sensation, perception, conditioning, and consciousness, they're also like this. There must be emptiness. There must be entropy. There must be uncertainty. That's where birth comes from. That's where reality is conceived. That's where birth comes from. It comes from the void. The void. Don't stare into the void. It will stare back at you. When people start losing the ability to just make basic statements like vehicles are real, and they're like, oh, well, what could that really mean? What's a vehicle really? And it's just like, okay, why are you asking that question? Because that question's always there. That question's always there. So when you ask that question, that means you're paying attention to it. That means you're focusing on it. And if you're focusing on it, then you're interacting with this void, the spirit of the void. You're interacting with it because you're asking that question. You're aware of it. So now with that awareness, you're in communication, because it's the communication that creates the interaction, which that interaction is the communication of art. So dancing, think about dancing. When you're dancing to a beat, you're dancing to something that is as pure as a baby crying when it's first born. Because a baby crying when it's first born can't deceive. It's pure. When you're talking with an adult, you don't know whether or not the emotions you're getting is because they're trying to manipulate you, or it's just a sincere, or they lying to themselves. Like, you don't know what's going on. But for a baby, when they're crying, you know what's going on. It's a pure state. You don't think, oh, are they really trying to trick me over here? And the thing is like, well, you could see love as a trick. That's a way of looking at it. I mean, it's kind of cynical, but maybe also it's not. It just depends. There's no reason to subscribe any value to these things. Just acknowledge their existence as possibilities. This is how you stare into the void properly. You sit down and you start thinking, okay, what logically follows? You don't just walk blindly. You start constructing a model of reality in your head. You start rendering reality in your head. And you have this simulation that you're creating. And it's like, to what extent are you creating the simulation? To what extent are you the thing that's being manipulated, or are you the thing that's aware and who actually has power and control? To what extent are you aware? To what extent are you God? Or what extent are you responsible? Or what extent are you the puppet master and not the puppet? To what extent? To what extent are you God? To what capacity do you have to bring your art into existence? What have you done? What are your trophies? Like real accomplishments, like becoming a UFC champion of the world. That's a real accomplishment. We all know it is. You know people who fought these people personally. So you know that whole thing is real. Like, you go to gyms, you interact with people. Like, no, this is all real. Every single part of interacting with that is just pure reality. I've gone to an event. I watched people fight each other in cages. Multiple of them. So we know that's a real trophy. Real, concrete, objective. Just as concrete as you had a child. See, and the thing is, it's something like that objective as the objective of having a child. I think that sometimes we lose sight of these games that people play in their heads that aren't actually real trophies. There's a whole Instagram page called McDojo Life. YouTube. Everyone can Google this. McDojo Life. Just Google McDojo Life and you'll run across this guy. And it's all about people who are delusional in martial arts, giving themselves false trophies that aren't real. So we know for a fact that humans have the capacity to create trophies that aren't real in their head. They're shooting beams at each other, and then they're all falling around on the dojo, that type of thing. Like, we all know that is something that people do. So you have to always be asking yourself, am I deluding myself? Am I giving myself trophies for stupid bullshit? Am I not holding myself responsible? Am I lying to myself? Am I sinning? We're always asking ourselves that all the time. Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Yeah, so it's just like, we know the difference between a real trophy and a fake trophy. McDojo Life is my offering of evidence for the delusional capacity of human beings. And the UFC and their champions is my evidence of choice for an objective thing that is completely based off of us all caring that it has value. But we all care it has value for a reason, because we know for a fact that people are playing objective games with reality. So you have to ask yourself, how many objective games do I play with reality, and how many games do I play with reality that are based off delusions and lies and nonsense? Don't give yourself false trophies. Be sincere about who you are and what you're doing. And that's the sincerity. Once you start doing that, then you will be like a baby, crying, pure. We know for a fact what spirit was communicating with us. The spirit of a baby, the spirit of a child, the spirit of a newborn who wants to be fed. Like, is there any deceit there? To what degree can a baby... So that's like pure. So that's my evidence for pure. So that's my objective evidence for pure. We all know this, and we can debate this to some degree, but everyone knows to some gut level that what I'm saying is close enough to the right answer. Something like, oh yeah, use a baby's cry as evidence of pureness. And pureness being a lack of deceit. It's just the universe is communicating, just like if you were attacking a bear. If you're being attacked by a bear, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is what it's like to interact with a baby. This is what it's like to interact with a bear. These are pure interactions. There's no deceit in an interaction with a bear. And the degree to which there's deceit is to the degree that bears have the capacity for deceit, which I'm sure they do to some degree. But at the very least, it's like you're interacting with a wild beast. There are no rules here. That bear doesn't owe you to be honest to you. So to whatever degree the bear is deceiving you, that's just still like you're in an objective game with something pure. That's a pure interaction. And then you look at the interactions you can have in your own mind, and you can really make up some nonsense. You can make up some McDojo life level nonsense. Everyone does it. For whatever reason, you're trying to protect your mind, or you want to continue doing something you know you shouldn't be or something, but for some reason, we all do it. And it's just a matter of what degree do I do that? And that's what it means to like not sin. To be sincere. That's like a requirement. You have to be sincere. You have to be honest. You have to be truthful. You have to know that when I say that I am the spirit of a quantum physicist, of a theoretical physicist that does research in quantum statistical mechanics and developed a new notion of ignorance in quantum mechanics, that's a sincere, pure interaction. This is a pure interaction with a pure spirit. The spirit of theoretical physicists, general relativity, computational geometry, computer coding, algorithm writing, calculations, I have thousands and thousands of pages of calculations. I've kept pretty much every calculation. I have like 7 or 8 notebooks full of calculations. It's my entire spirit. It's as pure as day. I can show you those. As a matter of fact, if I'm going to post this little rant as an episode of the podcast, I'm going to post it on YouTube with just pictures of my notes. You can just see like, okay, this is a pure interaction I'm having right now. The words coming from him are the words that are very sincerely wanting to be communicated to you by the spirits of algebra, of calculus. Like they want to communicate with you. These spirits, they want to interact with you. And that's my art. Because I am those spirits. I am a representation. I'm a microstate. But you're a microstate of many macro states. And those are the intersections. And those intersections are like the interference pattern. It's like the interference pattern, those intersections, when you're trying to think of who you are, your own mind. How many spirits am I? And then you can look, okay, I'm a physicist. Let me look at other people who have spirit of physicists. And I have a direct line with them. They all know what it's like to be a physicist, to live the life of a physicist, to make your living by doing calculations and analysis and measurements and all this stuff. That's just literally my life. And so it's like, once you understand that we have gotten to a point in society where you can get the intimate thoughts of people who do things like what Einstein did. Now think about back when Schrodinger was around and Dirac and all of them. And think about how much harder it was for information to get around, how much harder was it for them to travel. So it's like the likelihood that you're going to get some sort of intimate, detailed discussion or interaction with someone of that mind is actually probably pretty low. But now it's an everyday, not even a big deal thing, because I can post this and a lot of people won't listen to it and won't give a fuck. So it's like, we have to stop and comprehend how much of a remarkable state of reality we're in right now, where you can pretty much have a detailed, intimate interaction with almost every single type of spirit you can imagine in the human race. Just pick up your phone, turn on to Instagram, and find spirits to interact with. Oh, this is how people from here talk. This is what happens in the future. This, and you start getting these models, and you start categorizing people based off of shared characteristics, and those shared characteristics are shared spirits. And then you look at, for this one person, when you're thinking of their identity, you're looking at the intersection of all the spirits that make them up, and that interference pattern is their spirit. And so you're just interacting with reality. It's like it's interferometry all the way down. It's interferometry all the way down. And it seems like, to me, from my understanding of quantum mechanics, like how I understand it, the way I understand quantum mechanics is that quantum states are voids. If you have a void that is isolated, meaning that it's not decohering, then you want to interact with it without interacting with it. You want to interact with it without interacting with it. You want to interact with it without interacting with it. That's what unitary transformations are. That's what quantum computers are designed to do. Unitary interactions. You create a quantum circuit by making a unitary transformation. So quantum circuits are designed to do unitary transformations. So what are unitary transformations? They're information preserving. They're information preserving unitary transformations. So that means that when you actually interact with it, you're not actually interacting with it, because you haven't changed it. You're just rotating it. You're rotating it. That's what unitary transformations are. They're just these rotations, just some abstract concept of a rotation. That's what a unitary transformation is. And the thing is that when two things interact, there's an exchange of information. And that exchange of information means that there has to be a void for the creation of information. That's where the birth comes from. And so when you're doing these unitary transformations, you're rotating things, but you're not allowing it to interact with anything. And so what you want to do is that you take these quantum states and you want to transform them, and then you make a measurement and make them interact, and then you observe the pattern that comes out of it. So and then it's like you're trying to manipulate reality without changing it. You're trying to do an algebraic transformation, like a pure algebraic transformation. A unitary transformation with 99.9999999999999999999 whatever many nines there are percent of fidelity. You just want to do these unitary transformations, and you have like some sort of measurement scheme at the end. And then it creates a pattern. And then you want to look at, okay, whatever pattern it creates, it's a lot of information. It's like it's being shot out, being birthed. So it's like, to do quantum computing, you just want to do a unitary transformation, an algebraic transformation, an information preserving transformation. Quantum states are just entropy. They're just symmetries. Like it's looking into the void. And so every time you look into the void, you're asking a question, you're giving something attention. And so when you get to the point where you can't agree what a vehicle is, I have to stop and ask you why you're asking that question, because uncertainty always exists. So just because you're asking it doesn't mean I have to give a fuck. But you go, waste of attention. There's a million things that you can give awareness and attention to. Why should I give attention to this? Why is your question about what a vehicle is important? It's like, okay, for every single day parlance, for getting along and getting around, what a vehicle is and what they do and how they work and whether or not they exist, it's just not a question. And if you're questioning it, then it's just like, okay, you better have a good reason for questioning this, because there are so many things that could be questioned. Why are you questioning this? Like, give me a good reason. Present something to me. Demonstrate to me your art. Express to me how you interact with the universe. Tell me what spirit you are. I'm trying to tell you what spirit I am, and I'm trying to be as sincere as possible. And I think that for me, sincerity is a required key. It's a requirement for any interaction to be positive and loving and caring. You don't want to be too contaminated with non-sincerity. You don't want to be too contaminated with non-sincerity. You want to be as sincere as possible, because then you can give true data. Then you have true data, just in the way a bear gives you true data. Oh, well, we can have 50 people go in and hang out with bears and find out what happens. We can get true data about the likelihood of what will happen if you just go hang out with grizzly bears. We can have people literally just hang out like Jane Goodall with chimps and just observe all their little interactions and stuff. Like, this is like, okay, well, if you get a bunch of chimps in a room, you go to a zoo and there's a bunch of gorillas, like, this is all sincere, true data. That's a room with gorillas in it. Just accept it. Don't question it. And if you are going to question it, you have to have a good reason to ask to do it, because it's like, the mere observation of uncertainty itself is not interesting. There's always uncertainty. There's always entropy. How else are things birthed? And I think that's at the moment of symmetry breaking. It's like there's a symmetry breaking, and it's like popping a bubble. The symmetry breaking pops the bubble. And then there's an interaction. And then a reality is created. So it's like all perceptions, all realities are birthed at interaction. All realities are birthed at interaction. And that's when you start getting the questions of past, present, and future. Okay, when exactly did the interaction start? When exactly did it end? Like, what's the duration? Like, what's the present? They're always trying to focus on the present. Yeah. So you're always trying to focus on the present. Because if it's birth at interaction, present is where birth is. I just think that I have figured it all out. Like, I really, remember what I do for a living. I'm a quantum physicist. Like, literally every single day of my life, I just think about quantum physics. Every day, 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 every day. Every day I think about quantum mechanics. Every day I think about quantum mechanics. Every single day of my life I think about quantum mechanics. Every single day of my life I think about quantum mechanics. Every single day of my life I think about quantum mechanics. Every single day of my life I think about quantum mechanics. Every single day of my life I think about quantum mechanics. Every single day of my life I think about quantum mechanics. Every single day of my life I think about quantum mechanics. Every single day of my life I think about quantum mechanics. Every single day of my life I think about quantum mechanics. Every single day of my life I think about quantum mechanics. Every single day, 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 every single day. I think about quantum mechanics every single day of my life. For like 7 years, every single day. What is quantum mechanics? Every single day. So it's all I think about. I think about it way too much. It's literally my job. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying now? Do you understand what I'm saying now? Do you get it? Do you get it? Does it make sense to you now? Can you hear my art? Can you hear my spirit? Do you know who I am? Can you hear it? Who am I? This is my art. Do you feel my communication? Do you feel it? Tell me if you feel it. Do you feel my communication? I'm communicating to you. Feel my spirit. Understand what I'm saying. I am the spirit of algebra. I am the spirit of quantum physics. I'm the spirit of theoretical physics. I'm the spirit of mathematics. But I'm not the only one, because it requires an interaction. It requires a collective. Like, we need shared spirits to have interactions, so that we can decode people's messages, so that we can experience their art, so that we can feel them, so that we can understand them. There must be mutual information from the communication. My first interaction with that was this thing called the Halebo bound. Mutual information determines channel capacity. We're trying to communicate with each other. Do you know who I am? This is a sincere interaction. I am being as sincere as I can right now. This is a performance piece. This is a piece of art. I am performing a piece of art. This is a piece of art. I am performing a piece of art. This is a piece of art. I'm performing a piece of art. This is a piece of art. I'm performing a piece of art. This is art. I am performing a piece of art. This is art. I am performing a piece of art. This is art. I am performing a piece of art. This is art. I am performing a piece of art. This is art. I am performing a piece of art. This is art. I am performing a piece of art. This is art. I am performing a piece of art. This is art. I'm performing a piece of art. This is art. This is art. This is art. This is art. Do you get it? This is my art. This is my spirit. This is my conscience. This is how I create reality. This is what's going on in my head at any given moment. It's like you can see, like, if you listen to the podcast, you're like, oh, this is just being in Shannon's head. This is all it is. Oh, I'm in Shannon's head. Oh, okay, this is interesting. It's an interesting place to be. Oh, I didn't think of it that way. Oh, yeah, it's a good point. Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, yeah, yeah, he's pretty smart. Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Oh, I don't agree with that. Oh, yeah, at the very least, you know that I'm interacting with Shannon. And it's like everyone, and the fact that it's like, okay, but who gives a fuck? Everyone has a story. Exactly. Who are you? Why should I care? Who are you? Why should I care? Well, I mean, there aren't too many black theoretical physicists out there. I mean, I literally am a child who said, I'm going to be a scientist, and then in America, well, if you work really hard, then one day you can become a theoretical physicist like Einstein. Literally, like, once you understand that my entire existence is based off of the whim of like a 15-year-old boy. 15-year-old, I'm gonna be like Einstein. Like just literally like growing up in the United States. If you work hard enough, you can become president. I truly believe that. I'm not fucking kidding you. I truly believe that. I did not feel like anyone was lying to me or deceiving me. And then I grew up, went to high school, worked, and they weren't lying to me at any point in time. It was a sincere, honest interaction. Yeah. And it's like, that's what it's like for me for growing up in America. That's why I really love this country. It's great. They tell you if you want to work real hard and you become a thing, and then you work real hard, you become the thing. And at no point in time did anyone stop me. Everyone was encouraging and helpful, because to say not otherwise, what? All of my teachers were bastards and all my professors are assholes? No, they're all nice, loving, helpful. What are you talking about? I don't disparage those people. See what I'm saying? I just want to be heard. I think I need to be heard. I think it's important if I'm heard. I think that I figured it all out, and I think it's precisely because I think beyond the natural. And it's because I was raised Christian. And I think that when you listen to Buddhism and you start to realize that there's a certain point where you have to start looking at reality beyond the obvious, beyond things as obvious as UFC championship. Like every once in a while you need to stop and think, okay, what is this exactly? Like sometimes you do need to ask the question. Sometimes you do need to stare into the void. And so when you stare into the void, you have to have a good reason for it. Why do you care about this? Why are you staring at this thing? There are many perceptions. There are many ways to view reality. Why this way? Why do you care about this? Tell me. You have to explain it carefully, because to tell me I have to care about something is to tell me that I need to give it attention, which means that I need to exhaust my fuel, my void fuel. The more void there is, the more opportunity there is to direct. So then you don't want to use your memory. The void is your memory. It's like the void is your memory. And you want that thing to be empty. You don't want your iPhone. Nobody wants their iPhone to be at maximum storage. Just think of it that way. Nobody wants their iPhone to be at maximum storage. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just store things on your iPhone and it was just infinite? Everyone has a phone. You don't want it up to full capacity. So then just think about the idea that when you have awareness, that's like storing some data on your phone. Say on your phone, you only stored pictures. Like you just had your entire phone was just completely full of pictures, no music, no nothing, just complete. Someone might have a phone like that, but it's like you've put all your resource into just storing photos. So, but that's like putting all your attention in that one thing. Or you can vary it up. You can have some music on there. You can have some, you can have whatever it is you have on your phone, just basic stuff. A basic phone has a variety of things stored on it. And then it's like each one of those is like using up space. But then when you erase it, all there is void. It's clean. It's completely clean when you erase it. So then like you want to have this device that can be erased and then store things. And then be erase and store things. But then you choose how you erase and store, which then affects what your awareness is, how much capacity you have for awareness. Because if you already store 99%, then you only have 1% left dedicated to potential awareness. So like it's like, okay, well, if a new problem coming down the pike, I can only offer it this much, or I have to completely readjust what I'm paying attention to now focus energy on this, and then you're always asking that question, what should I pay attention to? And so just because someone complains about something or someone thinks that something's important doesn't mean anyone should fucking care. Like, it's your responsibility to ask, why should I care about this? And just ask sincerely and just be sincere. Like, the person who thinks that you should care about this should just be sincere about why they think it, and then you should just explain back to them sincerely why you think it's important or not, why you think you should care or not. And then you just have that exchange, and you just get true data from each other. And then we're always interacting. We're always creating realities for each other. Remember, because realities are births at the interactions where creation happens. That's where birth happens, at the interaction, at the present. Like, I just can't imagine someone listening to this recording and then not fucking getting it by the end. It's like, is it really that hard to hear what I'm saying? It can't be that hard. It can't be that hard. This has to be obvious. I'm using obvious things that exist to explain what I'm saying. UFC exists. McDojo life exists. These things are real. Vehicles exist. What else is obvious? Why do we watch movies? Movies exist. Why? Why do they exist? Because they program you. They put you through a simulation. You interact with the spirit. You have some sort of emotional roller coaster ride. You're being programmed. Once you are being programmed, it's like that spirit is stored as data. And it's like running. And it's like doing things. It's programming reality. And so to be a conscious person is to be able to control awareness or control consciousness. To be able to control your consciousness and the consciousness of others. How much do you understand the spirit of consciousness? And I think that if I have any courage, I will post this whole episode completely unedited. Just so you can get a pure interaction. But the thing is that I just can't imagine, like, does this not speak to anyone? Can no one feel or hear this? Don't you at least think that those little mantras and chants I was doing was a little bit strange? Does that sound normal to you? Who does this for art? Like, pay attention to me. Why? Who else is going to give you a piece of art like this? Fucking nobody. A quantum physicist that speaks like this. Why should anyone care? Because, like, what is reality? For anyone to do their job, they must ask that question. If you're a teacher and you're trying to teach children, you're trying to program knowledge into them. Some things work, some things don't work. You're trying to figure out what reality is every single day. To be able to figure out the answer to that is to find the truth. And then it's to be able to see a path and then create and like actually have assert your will to create a reality that you want. That's what it means to be close to the divine. It's what it means to be a creator. It's what it means to be an artist. You see, these things are all synonymous. That's why I'm trying to say the unitary transformations is what I'm offering. The unitary transformations between different perspectives. Because unitary transformations can only be a matter of perspective. It's only when they interfere is when the orientation matters. That's why we do the unitary transformation. We're rotating the void, the uncertainty. Because if we interact with it, there will no longer be uncertainty. The information will flow into the environment. It'll decohere. It's like you're popping bubbles, like they're voids. It's like we live in a void. And that void is the virtual side. It's the side of symmetries. So now that I've established that I am using objective data to make communications, the sincere communication, like, oh, here's my representation of delusion, McDojo life, and here's my representation of a real achievement, UFC champion. These are objective things that we all know are true, just like vehicles are real. Okay. So I've already established that I'm using objective reality to make the basis of my claims so that we have a shared spirit so that you can interact with the art or the data that I reference. You can Google McDojo life and verify for yourself and get a good example. And then all the art associated with McDojo life is what I'm using as my microstate to represent the spirit of delusion. But there are different types of delusion. It's not like McDojo life is the only possible delusion. Like, no, I'm using that as my objective data to represent delusion for the purposes of communication, so that you can go verify the art yourself objectively, independently of me. That's, you go Google McDojo life, you'll see what's on there. Whatever's on there does not depend on me. It's just, it's no different than a bear in the woods. That's how real it is. You just Google it and see what it is. And that's what's so great about the reality we've created with these computers. We can store so much of our abstractions as more pure data because we know that this is how things work. We all know how vehicles work. 99% of people, or however many people, drive, right? So we all know what it's like to drive. I'm sitting in a car right now, recording this in a car. Yeah, so now here is my data, objective data that I'm going to use as a representation to validate my claims that I am the spirit of a quantum physicist. If you're listening to this and you want to listen to, you want to actually understand what I'm saying, stop what you're doing right now. Google a differential geometric approach to quantum ignorance consistent with entropic properties of statistical mechanics. Google that. You can also Google the maximum advantage of quantum illumination. You can just Google these things, or you can just look at my ResearchGate profile. Look at my ResearchGate profile. You know, there's a website called ResearchGate that is basically Facebook for scientists. Yeah. Just go look at my ResearchGate. Any scientist who's on ResearchGate will know exactly what I'm saying. Oh, look up this ResearchGate. Oh, look. Oh, interesting. Yeah, type in ResearchGate, Shannon Ray, quantum or whatever. You can just look at my profile. This is my objective data as evidence of that I am who I say I am. Yeah. Oh, he created that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I need to look at this as though it's a person who thinks about quantum mechanics every single day of his life, literally how he makes a living. What is quantum mechanics for him is like that question is as simple as asking the question, if I'm a carpenter and I'm trying to build a deck for someone, or I'm trying to build a deck for someone, what type of wood do I need? You know, and just like going through their day, just going, okay, I need this wood, I need that, and then I'll need this, and then if I put these things together, then I'll make a deck. That's what I do with my calculations. That's how this paper came into existence. A differential geometric approach to quantum ignorance consistent with entropic properties of statistical mechanics. This is my art. This is my art. This is how I program reality. This is my art. This is objective data of who I am. Like a UFC champion. The data I'm using is so objective. The logic is so consistent. It all makes so much sense. Everything I'm doing makes perfect sense if you just understand. Like I'm trying to explain to you what art is by performing art while also explaining what it is. Like, cause this is just, you're just not going to come across too many people on the planet who would make this recording. What type of people would you expect to make this recording? And the fact that I'm black also makes it pretty interesting. That's why you should care. At the very least, why not? Why the fuck not? Well, one reason why is because I think the narrative that black people being suffering and being in America and all this, I think that all that stuff is complete bullshit. That's why. If you haven't figured that out from what I've been saying, like, yeah, why should I pay attention to that? I love my life. The United States has been great. I've lived in 3 different states. I love this country. It's great. I don't know what else to tell you guys. It's like I live in a country where they tell you these things, and then you go through school system with people who care about you. The teachers were nice. They were all helpful. very loving interaction. Like, my teachers were awesome. I love those people. What are you talking about? In college too, and grad school. No. People are great. There's always going to be bad. There's always going to be good, especially in a system this complex and large. The existence of something bad is not reason why I should pay attention to it. Okay, there's a lot of things that go bad. Why should I care about this? You know, that's a big deal. It's a big deal to tell someone or to ask someone to pay attention to you. That's one reason why I'm always so, like, I don't feel like I deserve to ask people for attention, but it's like, I need your attention. I need to get this out of my head, because it's like, I feel like I discovered something and I need to communicate it to people. It's like, I'm just living my life. And then suddenly I had this awakening moment. I'm like, oh, wow, I have a lot of things to say. I really, really think that people should be listening to me. I have a lot of good ideas. And so then it's like, okay, well, you have to, like, if you're an actor, you have to believe that you have what it takes to command people's attention. And then there's something about people and why they are able to do it. Like, what do they got? Like, what is it about them? It's like, this is just how, that has to be a basic thought that has gone through every single person's head at least once in their life. Like, we all know that this is a thought that is common. What's it like to be a celebrity? Or what is it like to be Tom Cruise? Or what is it like to be whoever? Which, by the way, I watched A Few Good Men the other day. That movie was amazing. That was an all-star class. They all killed it. Demi Moore was great. It was beautiful. It was a great, Jack Nicholson was amazing. It was really good, man. I really enjoyed that movie. But yeah, like, you look at these people and you're like, oh, maybe I can do it, or, oh, I bet you they're cool, or what, or, oh, I actually met him at an apartment once, or something like that, or whatever. It's like, everyone has some sort of story or data or information stored around the concept of a celebrity, and different types of celebrities, and specific kinds of celebrities, fighting celebrities, Israel Adesanya, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, this is the world we live in. This is reality. And then hopefully that statement should boot you up and go, and start going, oh, wait, yes. There is a lot of objective, stored, true data here. Oh, yes, there is a lot of positive, loving information here. Oh, yes, you know, the existence of suffering and pain and something bad is just it's just baked into the cake. That's what it means to live in samsara. That's just what it means. And then to escape it, you have to just accept everything. And that's part of that is by letting go of attachment to outcomes. That's how you become Neo from the Matrix. You have to go into the void, and the void, like, when you're going into it, especially if it's rapid, it's like you're falling. So then if you're in a game that requires you to move quickly or suffer consequences, like mixed martial arts, for if you move the wrong way, you get kicked in the head and get knocked out, might get your skull caved in or something. It's like, when you're doing that, you're like skydiving, almost like you're trying to, like, maneuver and navigate, and you're trying to shift the state of things so that you create the reality you're trying to create. You have to move and dodge, and the more you just let go, the more you're going down a water rapid, and you're just kind of flowing with it instead of trying to control. And that's where you have to start relaxing and start going, okay, let's go into the void. Let's go into the void. And then you put on your gear and jump out the plane. Oh, man. Like, Gary Vee, should I bet on myself? It's like when Israel Adesanya said that he was going to go in, he had to go and just, like, quit his job and just be like, all right, I'm going to bet on myself. And then he gave that speech after knocking out Alex Pereira, and it's like, okay, yeah. Like, that kind of just letting go and just believing in yourself, and just, being able to be Neo in the Matrix, where you can just defy death, and you're just flowing. Being you, being sincere, trying to be in the moment, trying to be appreciative, trying to have gratitude. And so it's like, how do I just be in the moment? And then once you figure that out, it's like, I'm just trying to be at the present. I'm just trying to be at the moment of birth, to be pure, to be purified. And that's what Buddhism is telling you it's doing. It's like complete purification. Complete purification where there is absolutely no reference point anywhere. There are no reference points anywhere. And because of that, there is no capacity to create information, and symmetry is not broken. Symmetry is not broken. There's no broken symmetry anywhere. There's no broken symmetry anywhere. Nothing is broken. There's no broken symmetry anywhere. Pure. A pure transformation, a pure unitary transformation. An always ever pure transformation. It would have to mean that there's no defilements, there's no reference point. There's nothing from which to compare and contrast. There must be two. There must be a dual. The dual is birthed from the void. And in Buddhism, to the void, the dual returns. You take the void. You take the dual. Up and down. Up is down. Koan. Contradiction. Bad and good. Bad is good. Contradiction. Koan. Resolve it. By resolving it, you send the dual back into the void. Because to meditate, to try to meditate, to desire to get to a state of meditation, it's like you want to desire a direction without desiring the direction. It's like Jesus said, your left hand should know what your right hand is doing, or vice versa, or something like that. Your right hand and your left hand should not know what they're doing. They should not be communicating to each other at all. And so if you're doing it that way, then it's like you are closer to purity. Your left hand should know what your right hand is doing, or vice versa. I'm not sure exactly what he said. But that's how it works, I think. I think this is like my theory of divinity. It's my theory of consciousness. It's my theory of art. It's my theory of quantum mechanics. It's my theory of everything. This is just how I see reality. And so, like I've been trying to tell people, I see that state of going back to complete purity as being like nirvana. But the state of Christ is one in which you are as close to purity as possible while still having a consciousness. And it's because it's the Lie algebra. You're always at a spotlight of the purity. Like Buddhism wants you to not have a spotlight of the purity, but to be completely pure and one with all, with absolutely no duals, no sense of self, no symmetry breaking anywhere, no interactions, no communication, no encoding and decoding, no communication of art, no feelings, no simulations. To be pure. But Christ is like, imagine a thing that is pure, but instead of expanding into all of purity, it's always locally pure. And then you have this ability to just move around. So then you can choose what you pay attention to, but you're always paying attention to something sincerely and with purity. That's Christ. And it's like, I think the thing about the Bible, what I like, is there's some degree, which they always say with the Bible, a thing about the Bible is there's so much freedom to pick and choose. There's so much freedom to create your own version of Christianity. There's so much freedom to pick and choose. There's always freedom to create your own version of Christianity to some degree. Think about all the different sects and all the different churches. Do you think every church believes and thinks the exact same way when it comes to Christianity? Every single church is going to have a slightly different way of believing. They're going to emphasize certain things. They're going to think some things are more important than another. I have a lot of people that I know from different Christian backgrounds. Mormons, Jehovah's Witness, Baptists, like I interact with a lot of different types of Christians, man. And to me, they're all very much Christian. They're all very Christian people. Now, whether or not they all agree with each other on that, who knows? But that's how I see them. There's like this underlying core of what it's like to be interacting with a Christian, to be around Christians. There's a certain expectation, but I think that, it's usually a pretty safe place to be. Like really practicing Christians. And so it seems like that feature of Christianity is like a freedom. Like if you listen to the way Jesus speaks, there is a strong encouragement for you to strengthen your relationship with God. And to like be able to speak the truth, to improve your relationship with the Holy Spirit. So the whole point, it's like what Jesus was saying, is that when reading the law is like a house, and it has all these treasures that you can bring out. And there's a lot of older ones, but there's always it just keeps creating infinite new data, infinite new information, infinite treasures. And when you are in connection with it and you're teaching out of it properly, your job is to be able to go into that house of the law of God and be able to pull out a treasure and show it to someone. And so there's the Holy Spirit's the idea of that when someone's speaking, if they're in communication with the Holy Spirit, it's like it's a strong association with the Spirit of truth. Like you're speaking reality into existence. And there's this degree to which there's an expectation of behavior that then allows you to have, this capacity to be trusted. So it's almost like that capacity to need to be trusted is one of the core foundations you need for people to make a cohesive group so that many can become one, so that there can be a shared spirit. So that's part of the Spirit of Christ, is that he has like this, that gluing factor that make everyone want to come together as one, and trust is one of them, and sincerity is one of them. Like, and those go hand in hand. You need to be able to trust people. And if you just look at how much we trust each other, it's crazy. Just the fact that roads work, like that we have made this system of driving on roads and these vehicles going 90, 80 miles an hour, and we almost never hurt each other. It's amazing. We trust each other so much. We go to restaurants, we let people feed us, we get on airplanes. We trust, we go into Airbnb and just just go into random people's house and stay there. And we trust each other so much. It's insane. Taxis, Lyft, teachers, well, maybe not teachers. See, and that's the thing, is you have to be able to keep that trust. What is it you have to do that's honest and sincere? Like, what's your role as a teacher? What should you be doing? What's your job? So that I can trust you. If you think it's your job to go around and inject your political ideas into people, that's just madness. Like, to me, that is like as bad if, say that, my son gets older and he has like a Muslim friend, and he's like, hey, can my Muslim friend, or can my friend come over, and he's Muslim? And then I'm like, oh yeah, let me come over here. And then like without his parents' knowledge, just start trying to tell him like, Islam is this or that. And I'm not saying that I would do that. Like, obviously I don't know anything about Islam, but imagine someone who did that. Like, imagine if someone like behind the parents' back was shitting on their religion or trying to convert them to theirs without their knowledge. Like, what type of monster would do that? That's not trustworthy behavior. You don't do that. I know that as an objective fact. I would never do, because I know for a fact I'd never do that to anybody. I know the degree to which there's a sacred bond between parents and children, and to which you're not supposed to interfere with that. And to interfere with it means that something really significant has occurred that would warrant such an interference. But other than that, man, it's like, this is a question that can be asked when you're trying to ask yourself, what is my job as a teacher? Like, what are the actions I must do to keep people's trust? And then it's that trust that keeps the institutions functioning, because then it creates a gluing process, a shared spirit. So you must have trust, and you must be sincere. And that, to me, is an important aspect of the Spirit of Christ. And I also think that you want that purity of truth which is to like basically not sin. Because I think sinning is always some process of justifying a behavior, doing something you're not supposed to be doing, whatever. It's like putting yourself in a state of delusion, making decisions that you shouldn't. But anyway, I think I've talked long enough. I'm burning out steam. It's getting late, but I'm gonna post this. I have to really and see. So here's the thing. So for anyone who has been listening to the podcast and wondering why I keep harping on things like, oh, I gotta let go. It's because it's like, okay, this expression that you just heard, if I have the courage to release it, is what I've been trying to, like, it's like, can you imagine, like, I'm trying to say this is what I want to say, this is what I want to say, does this sound fucking crazy to you? You know what I mean? It's like, but this is how I feel, like, if I'm interacting with, like, basically, if I'm interacting with anybody, one-on-one, or to a group, this is how I talk. Maybe not with the repeated mantras and the weirdness like that, because, but this is how I communicate. And so for me, it's really hard to not communicate that way when that's what I want to be doing. And the thing is when I'm with people one-on-one, I can be trusting. I can judge them. I can gauge who, what type of person is this? Can I communicate this to them? And then like 99% of the time, most people are cool. And I just talk to them and I just communicate this stuff. I'm just really enthusiastic to, communicate and like understand who you are, understand who I am, and get new true data. And like, oh, what's it like to be an amazing chef? Look at Gordon Ramsay's shows. It's just like, I just want to live a basic ass life. But at the same time, it's like, I really do feel like I need to communicate this, and it needs to be communicated in a way that's not just reasonable and logical and no, there's heart there, there's spirit there, there's something else there, there's some, you have to be able to go into the void and create order and believe that you have the truth, to have faith. That's why you need faith. You need faith to go into the void. You need faith like Neo in the Matrix, that when you jump, you're going to go on the other side of the building. That was the thing that made him fall the other time, was just a lack of belief that he could actually jump. And your conditioning is making you believe, but you have to let go of that conditioning so you can jump from one side to the next. You see? So then it's like, oh, can I control my conditioning? Can I control my conditioning? Can I let go? Can I let go of that conditioning to the point where I believe truly that I can move as fast as these agents? And once I completely let go, then I'm starting to manipulate reality at the level of stopping bullets and flying. That's basically like what Jesus is. Jesus is an amazing spirit. I love Jesus Christ. Jesus is a God worth worshiping, righteous spirit, beautiful, loving spirit. I all praise to God, all praise to Jesus. Very much. Yeah. Jesus is an amazing, 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 amazing God. The greatest God. I mean, you can't get a higher level than Jesus, I think. That's my feeling. Because I also think of the Tathagata, and the spirit that Buddhism was trying to communicate is also the same spirit. There's a unitary transformation between them, a one-to-one mapping, and information preserving mapping. And I think that the one that I'd like to consider is the relationship between Lie algebra and Lie groups. For Jesus is the Lie algebra, and the spirit of Nirvana or the Tathagata is the Lie group. And it's a back to complete purification, a state of complete purity, oneness with all. So I think they're the same. And you listen to Buddha and you listen to Christ, that is the same spirit. It's the spirit of algebra. All things must be equal. The Lie group and the Lie algebra. That's how I see reality. I think at this point, that piece of art right there has enough objective data in it. And at the very least, tell your friend about this. Subscribe to the podcast. Tell a friend. If you find this compelling, if at any point in time you found any of this compelling, if at any point in time you found any of this interesting, if at any point in time you thought of any of this weird's a definite one. If you ever felt weird or uncomfortable at any point in time, uncomfortable is another one. Uncomfortable, weird, with, if you ever felt those feelings, then you have to share this with somebody. Just text it to someone. Hey, you should check this out. And then whatever one of those feelings you felt, tell them the feeling you felt and why you felt it. And then share it with them. Tell them the feeling you felt and why you felt it. And then share it with them. Okay, I don't know. Did you feel a sense of awe at any point in time? Oh, tell someone, share, explain, share it with them. I think that once this gets out, then the purification process will start to purify each other. That's what I think. Runaway purification. That's what I'm hoping for. Runaway purification. Listen to my podcast. Listen to the 4th episode. Just listen to the 4th episode of the 1st season. If you find this interesting, then you just go listen to that. Listen to it from beginning to the end. Having had you listen to this. And that's another thing. For anybody who this is the first time listening to Dr. Shannon Ray's podcast, if this is your first time, go back and now go and listen to other episodes with this in mind. Go back and listen to other episodes with this in mind. What you'll find is that the depth and richness of the world in that podcast that I have created is so deep and dense that you will find so many voids, so many connections to God, so many connections to purity and sincerity, so many different states of being and reality that you never knew existed. I think that I've found, and I know other people who have developed, like my friend Philip Matadine in his monument world. Like, I just know that there are other people who have developed their dharma. It's their dharma, and it's like, man, there's a lot of really amazing spirits out there. And it's just like every single person you meet, no matter who they are, man, there's a lot of really interesting spirits, a lot of interesting people. I love meeting people and like, oh man, that's really interesting, and having like really deep conversation, because you get all this, and the more you know that you're having a sincere interaction, the more you know you're getting true data. It's a good feeling. But anyway, if you think that this could cause runaway purification and help save us from killing each other as we expand deeper and deeper into isolated worlds of differing information with mutually exclusive goals and a lack of consensus on base facts of reality, and the more we allow that process to continue and proliferate, the more likely we're going to kill each other with all of our massive, powerful technology that we've developed. So it's actually probably best, given how much information is expanding and the fact that we have created consciousness, or at the very verge of creating consciousness if we haven't already, which I think we probably already have. It's probably best that we all get on the same page really quick, like quick in such a way that the only thing that you could imagine doing it is a runaway purification of everyone's mind and spirit, such that we all understand that we're one, and that if we don't cooperate, we're going to kill each other and we all die, but we all want to actually survive. And so if we want to actually continue to exist, it would be a really good idea for us to all love each other. And for just one moment, try not to think negatively of others. Try to take all the negative things that you can stare at and stare at something only positive. Think of nothing negative whatsoever. Find some moment to spend a minute or 2 or 5 minutes to think about absolutely nothing negative. And then just try to do that more often. And then if you do look at something negative, you have to ask yourself why. Can I do something about it? Or can I not do something about it? And it's like, sometimes you ask yourself that question and you don't know the answer, but your actions tell you. Because you'll prioritize things, or you won't, or you'll, whatever. But you'll find out how important something really is to you. Anyway, I gotta go. Peace.